All right, Giant Builders. Today's guest is going to share about creating clarity through your branding. So this was really interesting. I love her thoughts and her ideas. So let's check it out.
Building spirituality, family, health, and business. This is the Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.
Hey, Giant Builders, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. Don't forget, click on our social media links and follow us there. And if you leave a comment, that would be really very much appreciated. So today's guest is KC Cohen. Hey, Casey, how are you?
I'm doing great, Lois. Great to be here.
Well, thank you so much for your time and appreciate you sharing your talents and your knowledge. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So I'm KC Cohen, and I am a personal branding coach. So what I do is help women entrepreneurs and coaches and creatives. I help them launch their personal brand in 90 days so that they can get, more clients, more money, more, just opportunities to fall in their lap that they're looking for.
Oh, that's cool. Well, expand for us. What does a personal brand mean and why is that important?
Right. So a personal brand, what I work on for people is, it's beyond like colors and logos and things like that. And it's more about being able to have this magnetic presence about them in everything that they're doing between life and business. So they get to really see themselves from the inside out. And while they become magnetic to others, they also become more empowered. And it just helps overall in, being able to get everything that they're looking for. And with that, I did want to mention that I'm super excited to be here and thank you. I've got a story that I want to share with you a little later about how I had this epiphany that changed the trajectory of my entire business. I was staying in a log home in Virginia, and I had stepped outside one day on the porch, um, looking up to the sky because I wanted to ask the universe kind of maybe if there was something more in store for me because what I was doing with my business at the time was in question. And the universe replied back with this image of portrait photography. And I was like, portrait photography, what does that have to do with any of the coaching that I'm doing? So I'm excited to share how that just changed everything for me.
Well, expand on that for me. So you're going into portrait photography?
No, I'm not. At the time I was doing coaching. And if I can start at the beginning of where it all happened, it might make a little more sense
Oh
of
yeah,
where it fit
please
in. Is
do.
that okay? All right,
Oh yeah.
sure. So I was working a 9 to 5 job in a lighting agency. My background is in psychology and design and architecture. So that's the field I was in. And I had started a side business in color consulting. So helping people choose colors for their homes, help them, just feel better in their environment through color. And with the 9 to 5 business, I just felt like, my color business is doing really well right now. I feel like if I put more time into it than just, the little bit of side time, then maybe I could, make it grow even more. So I decided to jump ship on my 9 to 5. And I was in Washington, D.C. at the time with my color consulting business, and it was taking off. So I had decided to go ahead and move everything there. I'd been living in Maryland to that. And I had set up a business model inside a paint store there. And it was doing really well. Customers would come in and get free help from me. And then in turn, I had one of my first clients actually said, can I just tuck you inside my little bag here and take you home with me so you can pick out my colors in my home? I was like, yes, that's the whole point of this. So I was able to go into the homes that way and get a lot of clients. And it was going really well until it wasn't. So at that point, I was in the store in DC, and there was another employee of the store. I was a subcontractor. Um, who was also doing the same thing that I was, just unofficially. It wasn't announced or anything like that. So what happened was she was basically doing the same thing I was, and we all had a sit down about it. And the manager assured us that, I think there's enough clients and customers to go around. It shouldn't be a problem. And I'm a little jittery because I had left my cushy job. I had, moved to DC and was, paying some healthy rent in the city where I could see the capital, and was taking on more hours. So I was a little nervous, but I thought, okay, it's the city. There's probably more clients. So as time went by, my clientele actually shrunk. So I was a little concerned with that and had to really decide what I was going to do. Am I going to just, tear this down and do something different, or what? So I stayed in that store, and I decided to go into the suburbs and expand what I was doing. I was like, I'm going to pull up my big girl pants here and make something of this. I'm not going down without a fight. So off to the suburbs I went, had took the same model there. So I was in two stores. Another sister store found out about what I was doing because it was really generating a lot of business. Because in the neighborhoods that I was in, they're like, oh, there's someone that can help us. Yes, please. So the more and more people I helped, the more that people found out about me, including stores. And I swear, Lois, I woke up one day and I had not discovered, but realized I had six paint stores that I had had my business model in, and I had hired six color consultants that I trained to do what I was doing because there's only one of me. I can't be in all these stores at once. And we had hit six figures in the business. So I was really excited. That's 666. Not, I'm the good kind, That is a good thing here. Um, so that was going really well, uh, until it was getting, really a lot on my plate and feeling like I want to get outside my business and, have something somewhat of a life. Have you been in situations like that where it's just
I
all
have
work,
been there. Yes, I understand.
all work and no play? Makes for a very dull life. So I took a ride outside the city to the countryside. And really, it felt like within minutes, I was feeling this immediate sense of peace. I'm going down the highway outside of the city, outside of the hustle and bustle, and suddenly I'm seeing like green hills to the right and left. And in front of me, it's like I see the Shenandoah Mountains. It's almost as if they're just a cloud of blue smoke in the distance. And like I'm just going to ride right into them. And it was very peaceful. And I spent, the weekend there, and I came back to the city and the drive. And it's when you're in the city, you can almost just feel, at least I could almost just feel what was going through everyone's minds as they're driving. It's like, oh, I got to get my kid to soccer. Oh, I got to get home, make sure they're fed. Oh, I got to make sure we do this, we do that. You can just feel the frenetic energy, of that. So I thought, I'm really up for more peace and less of this, life. And I was just feeling like there's something more, to it than just what I was experiencing there, because I really had originally gotten into color consulting as a stepping stone to just become a better designer, better architect in the world. But since it took off, that was the whole story and trajectory there. So not only did I leave my 9 to 5, which was doing really well, I also decided to leave the color consulting business, which was also doing really well, in search for something better. I mean, I live in breakthrough daily, so I guess this is just part of my, method, but I don't like to just sit back and let things happen. So what I decided to do, I didn't burn down the color consulting business. I decided to let it fend for itself, meaning that I'm going to move 2 hours away. If anybody calls me, that's fine. I will drive there and go see them and, help them feel better in their homes or offices or wherever I'm going. So I decided to move to Central Virginia and started on this search for my passion and purpose. And from there, that's where everything started moving forward, just sort of snowballing into this new thing that I can tell you more about. But have you ever left a job for something new and you're kind of not knowing what's going to happen and then watching in hindsight this journey?
It takes a lot of courage. I mean, you have to take a really deep breath and, like you said, pull up those big girl panties because it's a really hard decision to make.
Yeah, it is, and it can be. I'm doing this on my own. I start to hire some, mentors to help me figure out like what to do next. I went through a lot of things that had to do with branding and with coaching. So, um, I had started down that path, but just prior to it, um, I was deep into some studies that I was doing to advance myself, and I got a call that my mom had collapsed.
Mm.
Yeah, and it she was in Colorado, I was in Virginia, so I couldn't exactly get to her very quickly. But the thing that happened was up to that point, she had just moved into a living facility that was something that she had been wanting to do for 10 years. She had not done it. She wasn't sure if she could do it with her partner. We found out that they could. So this was like her dream because she couldn't wait to have a social life. She couldn't wait. Her best friend was already in this facility, her best friend of 50 years, who was practically the mayor of this place. And as as the skies opened up, as the stars aligned, she was able to get in, which there was usually a 1 year wait list. She got in 2 weeks.
Mm.
And the space that opened up was right next to her best friend of 50 years. So there were crazy antics going on once she moved in because it was like teenage girls again, living in their 80s, just really enjoying themselves. She was still unpacking. So she had been there for 10 days. And this is when she had collapsed at lunch. Um, it turns out she had had a pulmonary embolism, they believe, so she didn't make it. And I couldn't get to her in time because it had happened so quickly and we were so close. And so that part it was really, really hard. I mean, she was in her 80s, so it's to be expected. But it was a lot to take on. And my siblings and I flew there and, we're going through her things. And it just felt like to me, she had reached her dream point in life, right? And she only got to live it for 10 days. And for me, that was devastating. Here I am searching for my dream and, into my 40s. And I just thought, it's not fair. It's just not fair. And I had learned later in her life that she had wanted to be an interior designer. And I just started thinking, maybe I don't know what happened. I don't know why it didn't happen. I'm actually grateful because it gave her the time to raise a family, which I think is really important too. But what if she had had a coach like I am now? What if she had had, a personal branding coach to help her? Because like what I do that makes me different from other people who are, delivering the the logos and the colors and the content pillars is that I provide coaching. So I felt like if my mom had had someone who could help her figure out, how to maybe have a family. I'm also a fourth generation entrepreneur, so my dad could have easily helped her build a thriving business. What was it that kept her from doing that? So that set me on my quest to make sure that I can help women really pull out their gifts and do it in a way that, they feel safe. They can express what they want and they can be themselves. It's not just someone telling them, oh, do this, this, and this. Here's your brand, here's your colors, here's what you should say. No, it's embodying all of that. Have you ever hired a brand or marketing person, Lois?
Not a brand or marketing. I do have two coaches that I work with. So, I mean, it really makes a difference because I think, especially as women, I think that we feel like there's more of a fear of failure there. And maybe sometimes we don't have the same backup support that men have. And I think there's a lot of there that we mentally have to unblock to step forward into a business.
Yes, you're so right. And that's exactly what my clients get to experience is that block because I discovered that there is a subconscious block. And once we can erase that, what happens with my clients is the world just suddenly opens up because there was something literally blocking their path and making them feel like, oh, I'm not worthy. And, you have two mentors. And a lot of the listeners out there, like myself, have probably hired strategists to help them, whether it was building a funnel, creating a website, hiring a branding and marketing agency. And I don't know about you, but I will ask the listeners out there, have you ever hired someone like that and they gave you this beautiful deliverable and suddenly you felt like, oh boy, I'm not sure I can really do this and you let it sit on the back shelf. You paid money for someone to deliver exactly what you were looking for, and they did it. They could be the best at what they do. But suddenly you just start thinking, you start doubting yourself, start feeling like imposter syndrome, and you don't do it. Or you decide to take it. And it's like being on stage for a theatrical appearance where they put you in a costume and you have your lines and you go up there and you're like, wait a second, I'm just playing a role here. And that only goes so far. So that is what I wanted to change, with my clients is to make sure that, I can reach to one side, which is the brand strategist or, any business strategist, and I can provide that, emotional support that we so need so that we can dive into who we really are and make sure we feel safe and that what we're putting out there is us and not just, a costume. And I can reach to the other side, the, therapist side, where, you don't really go to a therapist to help you with your business. I know I've tried and it goes down a different direction than I really want because they're not there for the whole thing. So what I feel like is that I'm in the middle, able to reach, both sides and really help move them along. So that's the base of what, my clients get experience. But what changed the whole trajectory was what I was telling you in the beginning. So would it be okay if I share that part
Oh
now with
yeah.
your
Good. And I do want you to come back to the portrait photographer part too.
that's exactly,
Oh, okay.
yeah, you're right. You're following right along here. So I was doing the coaching for women entrepreneurs. But I wasn't quite getting as far along as I wanted. I was making great strides for them. I knew what I was doing was working, but it wasn't quite, generating the income like I had with my color consulting business. So, yeah, we entrepreneurs get at some point in our lives where we're like, are we going to burn this down or are we going to, keep going and try to make it work or find, other work outside of there. So because I didn't want to do any of those things, that's when I stepped outside the log home and I was like, let's make one last ditch effort to try to, make this work, which is crazy because I felt like I had hired all these mentors and already figured out, what my passion, what my purpose was. Is there really anything else I can eke out of here? So I stepped onto the porch and I remember it was, a log home. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. The sky was just this perfect blue. And I looked up to the sky and I asked the universe, what else could possibly be out there for me that I'm just not seeing that could really help me, get this business going. And instantly, before I could even finish the question, this image of portrait photography came to me. It was like this frame, a literal frame, with people in it. And I was scratching my head, like, really? I'm going to become a photographer? Like, I barely know how to hold a camera. My dad was a photographer just as a hobby, and we used to have a dark room in our basement. So I've done a little bit of work with it here and there, but I was like, it's too late to become a photographer. Not that it really is, but that's what I'm thinking. And it's like, what does this mean? So I decided to sit on it for a few days because I really didn't want to let it go. I didn't want to go have to find a job. I didn't want to burn my business down. Like, let's figure this out, but let's let it happen. So, I love photo shoots. Have you ever had a photo shoot done for
My
your business?
my husband and I had a photography studio for almost 40 years.
What? Oh my gosh. Oh, we
Yeah.
have to talk. So you know a lot about what I'm talking about here. Just wait. So I love the brand photos. I think they're amazing. And I just feel like a picture, speaks 1,000 words. So as the days went on, I was sort of staring off into space with social media, as one often does at the computer. And I was looking at some of my cohorts that had a business, women entrepreneurs. And I was looking at some of the photos they were posting, and I was looking at their content. And I've studied a lot about marketing and sales, and I could just feel how it wasn't correlating. And I have this extra sense about me that I can see people, not dead people, of course, that's a completely different movie, but I can I can see people. I'm a sensitive, so I can really feel and see into what they're doing. But social media and being online is a whole different story. So I could see that something wasn't matching with them. Their message, their marketing, what they were saying, what they were posting, how they looked, all of it. Even if it was alive, I could just feel it. And I just wanted to crawl through this screen and just give them a big hug and say, I can help you. I see this. I see what we can do. I see you. I see that we can pull that out. And that is what started the trajectory of what I now call the therapeutic photo shoot method. So because I can see them, but I have even more insight into them because we uncovered the blocks in the beginning, which is actually the first step in my framework. So I know these clients really, really well. And I'm able to take that emotional part and build it into a photo shoot, a brand photo shoot, which we go through the whole process of what I call a Pinterest wonderland, where we go in there and find visuals for their life and their business and a photo shoot. So we're preparing all of this in depth before we even, have a camera in front of our face. So what that did that made it different than just someone just walking into a photo shoot and throwing on some clothes and taking, pictures, because I know even doing that, a photo shoot has a huge impact on, the audience, on the person, that's having it taken. But this just took it to a whole nother level and made my clients, when they did it and went through this process, so much more magnetic.
Mm.
And so that is how me stepping outside that day and pulling that from manifesting that really from the sky and having it become such a vital role. And I tried it out, with some of my clients at first, and just so magical, so magical.
So, to help me understand in that, how does this process feed into my soul and help me find my purpose?
That's a great question. So you're asking how it feeds into your soul, this process, so that you can find your purpose. Yeah. So with the framework that I have, I call it the ebb and flow. framework. I use EBB as the acronym. So the first stage is the epiphany, where we're uncovering the subconscious blocks. And my clients literally have an epiphany, where it's like they see something from perhaps their childhood, where maybe a brother was getting all the accolades and they were getting none. And they felt like their family was telling them, "Oh, you need to do better. You need to be like your brother." And they tried as hard as they may. They could never be that, and they were never getting those accolades. So we started connecting dots because what was happening was they had the narrative of my best isn't good enough. So guess what? Fast forward to today, and whenever they put something out there, in a content piece or a marketing piece or their beautiful, photo shoot, they hear crickets. So they retreat, and they keep doing that, and they keep retreating. So they're not getting further. They don't keep going further because why? Because their best isn't good enough. No matter how well they do, they're never going to be as good as their brother. So they learned how to stop and how to become paralyzed, which is something that I find a lot of my clients do. But well, by the time we get that uncovered, they have this huge, it's like a brick is just, off of their shoulders. And they feel that what I call this energy of euphoria. They feel this energy. It's just this enlightenment that happens. And when you're open like that and you have this frequency that's open, things start falling into your lap. It's like you become a magnet right from the very beginning. So from that very first point, you can see more clearly your path. It becomes easier. You're able to identify with yourself. It's like this streamline of identity that we start to figure out. So that's how we create the foundation. And that starts with the epiphany. Then we go to a blueprint stage, which is the Pinterest wonderland that I explained to you. So we get to take everything that you're dreaming about in your life and business, put it together. And then if you think of the photo shoot part, kind of like an archetype or a fantasy, where you can really go to the extreme of your power and just pulling out, in a safe space, what you think this could look like. Then with this blueprint that we've created, think of it like a Bible. Yes, we're going to get your colors. We can work on your logo. We've got a concept for you. You know what to say. But Lois is not just in business because I'm supporting them emotionally. It's for their life too. So they've got like a rule book for their life and business. And what's the irony with that is that it takes rules to be able to have the freedom that you're looking for. So that is the blueprint. And then the last stage is the bridge. And that's where we bridge it all together with their marketing and what platform do they want to be on. And the whole time I'm holding them and I'm creating this safety net where they get to choose. They don't have to do the traditional ways and things in life. It's what resonates with them, where they get to a point, it's like, really? I can have this? And just this whole time, it just feels like the possibilities. Like, I don't know. I like to explain, like you have the VIP ticket to Disney, where you get to go in and jump the lines, and you get to be on the roller coaster first. You get to go to all the shows first, and that's just what it feels like. Like you're just showing up, and you're on stage for what really resonates with you. And it's like bigger goals faster. You get to attain the clients, the income and the possibilities and opportunities that you want.
That's wonderful. So, giant builders, if you're like stuck and you just think, oh, I know I can start a business and you just can't get those first steps taken, I recommend you give Casey a call. I'll have her contact information below. I think that she could really open up some areas for you and open up some mind ideas for you. And also, if you like this episode, make sure to check out these episodes here too. It just give you some more details and tips on starting your business and just moving your life. So I think you have a gift for our listeners.
I do. Thank you. So I developed a tool, which I often do because I'm customizing what I do for my clients. And I turn some of those tools for them into something that helps other people too. So one of the gifts was something I developed for myself first, and it's called the why you exercise. So what you're doing is asking why you, like what makes you so special? Why are you doing this thing? And you know how you're familiar with knowing your why, right? That's a really common question that gets asked in business that helps to have. But this is more about what's so special about you. And what I did was I created a dichotomy of thought where you're not just asking why you, you're asking why not your sister, your brother, your mother? Why aren't they doing what you're doing? So it helps you just see this from a whole different point. We really get into that so that in the end, you understand what differentiates you from the competition. And what I came out with was this trifecta that I am able to provide people with psychology and understanding them with my background in design. So that creative space that helps them develop their freedom. And then I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur. So I understand business. You're not going to find me like bungee jumping or going on those roller coasters at Disneyland, but you will find me taking risks in business. No problem with that. So I have this gift as a PDF, and they can reach out to me through LinkedIn or any other social media outlet that I have. Just DM me and just tell me that you're interested in the YU gift, and I'll give it to you. Yeah.
All right, giant builders, make sure you reach out to Casey and get this free gift because I think it'll be wonderful to go through. Here, let me just tell you, I want mine, okay?
Okay, sure. Absolutely.
Okay. So any closing thoughts?
Yes, I would say for anyone out there, no matter, whether it's me or anyone else, it's so important to have someone who understands you and seeking those mentors out. And if the first one doesn't feel right, just keep going. Trust me, I've had so many, and it really is the important part. You want to be able to feel safe with what you're doing so that you can have the freedom and live your life and dreams that you're looking for.
Great. All right. Thank you, Casey. I really appreciate you sharing. It was wonderful information. So, giant builders, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thanks, Lois.
Thank you for listening. This has been The Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.